So in this week's video, I want to dive into a topic that might be a little bit sensitive for people. Because usually when we talk about money, it's a little bit of a touchy subject because a lot of us have some deep wounding with money. And money comes, with a lot of weight attached to it. And a lot of twin flames experience this disconnect with money. And a lot of times it stems from our upbringing because one might come from a family who is a little bit well off. The other one might come from a family who's not so well off. But each twin flame has very similar beliefs when it comes to money, despite their upbringing. And they will mirror this to one another. But oftentimes, too, money can play out in not such healthy ways between the feminine and masculine. So if you're someone who's ever given money, support, resources, or even throwing your time, your energy, you've given these to your twin flame. And in my mind, your time and energy, ladies, is the most important resources that we have. And many of you are giving it away willy-nilly to your twin flame. And if you have done that, hoping it would bring your twin flame closer to you, and instead of creating union or closeness or him choosing you, it created distance, it created resentment, it created betrayal, it created this feeling of being used, which ultimately ended up in a separation of silence, then this video is for you. Because underneath this dynamic of money that happens between the twin flames, between you and your masculine, is often a hidden emotional language. And what I mean by that, it is rarely about money. Rarely does money actually have to do with money. Instead, it has to do with your worthiness, your attachment, your fear of abandonment, and this deep desire to be chosen. Because many of you and your masculine have put so much weight, so many expectations, so much pressure on money. And I know this because money is one of my biggest lessons in this lifetime. And at some point in time in my journey of offerings and like teachings, I will start talking more and more about money. But right now, I'm focusing on helping support breaking these patterns. And we're going to start introducing and talking about money on the twin flame journey. Because oftentimes what it looks like on the surface is that the feminine is giving out of just wanting to give because she wants to be generous. But the reality is underneath it, there's something deeper hidden. And if this is resonating with you, then I want you to join me. And if you're new here, I want to welcome you. My name is Melissa, and I'm the Sacred Feminine Alchemist. I created sacredness within you because I believe deep down inside in each and every one of you, there is this sacred part of you that wants to rise. And that sacred part of you is very unique to you. And by connecting with that part of you, it's going to help cultivate inner union and help increase the chances of landing 3D union. And I love to help feminines identify patterns within them and within their connection so they can begin to unravel these patterns and start aligning to the life that they're meant to be living in this lifetime. And so today I want to talk about money and the twin flame dynamic, because what happens when the feminine is giving? She oftentimes is overgiving, and this is a pattern that is within her. And this is actually linked to the wounded feminine. And if you're not familiar with the different stages of the feminine and what the feminine goes through and the masculine goes through, and let me remind you, there's feminine energy within you and masculine energy within you. And you want to learn how to understand how these operate within you, then I encourage you to check out one of my other videos. Because when this pattern of overgiving is showing up in the feminine, this version of her, she feels deeply. I talk about how she feels deeply. She has her heart wide open, but she's powerless. And she has this innate ability to sense disconnection very early. She can energetically sense it. She just intuitively knows. And because of that, she's also trying to bridge that gap, the gap of where she is and where she wants to go through giving, whether it's giving of her time, giving of her energy, giving of money, giving of support, or giving of by always being available. I want you to figure out how it is that you give. But today we're going to talk about money, because when it comes to money, it can show up as the feminine paying for things, sending him money, saving him from crises that are happening in his life, all the while he's never helping her get out of a financial crisis in her life. It can also look like the feminine helping him stabilize his life while her life is not yet stable. Because underneath all of this, ladies, is what's driving this is a fear of rejection. It's this fear of not being chosen, fear of abandonment, and this deep belief within you that love must be earned through sacrifice. Love must be proven through fill in the blank. And so you start playing out these beliefs that are within your subconscious programming and your physical body with money. Because you're not actually trying to buy love. What you're trying to create actually is safety. Because what's written underneath all of this is like a hidden contract. It's more of an energetic contract that the feminine creates. And she has this because this is a pattern that she's seen in her life. This is all that she's ever known. And it's the belief that if I give enough, he will stay. And so oftentimes this is where the feminine starts fighting for what it is that she wants. You have to do everything that you can to make it work. And ladies, let me tell you, I was guilty of this. I was guilty of this in every area of my life. If I give enough to a job, they're going to appreciate me. If I give enough to my twin flame, he's going to come back to me. If I fight for what it is I want, I'm going to get what it is that I desire. But that's not what happened. Because what happens is when you overgive, like I said, you create this energetic contract. And it's this part of you that says, if I support him, he will finally see that I'm loyal. He will finally see my value, because all he's ever wanted me to do was to support him. And here I am supporting him. And there's this other part of you that might say, if I hold him through struggle, he'll choose me. And ladies, many years ago in the beginning of my twin flame journey, I was guilty of it. I thought if I supported him, if I helped him through his struggle, he would see how amazing I was. But when I did this, to be honest with all of you, it came from expectations. It was tied to an outcome. I wasn't giving freely, because what I realized at this time when I was doing this is I was trying to manipulate him into seeing me as someone that I wasn't quite yet. I wanted him to see my value. I wanted him to see how worthy I was. I wanted him to see that I could support him in his goals, in his dreams, and I could be there for him during his most challenging times. But what I learned through that was I was not meant to be that person to do that. I wasn't. I wasn't meant to do that in that way. Because the reason why I was doing this and why a lot of you are doing this is because you learned that love is transactional, whether that's energetically or physically. You start to learn that it's a transactional part of you, that you believe love is transactional, because the love that you received was based on conditioning. Right? Like if you did this for your parents did this for you. Or your mom said, oh, if you do this for me, then you can get a hug from me. My whole journey with my mom and my dad was transactional. Love to me was transactional. And guess what? That transactional love got played out in every single relationship, but it was extremely highlighted in my twin flame dynamic. Because I know many of you aren't giving, to manipulate. Sometimes that is the case. But what's happening is it's often a trauma response. Based out of this fear and rooted in longing and this fear of if I don't give, if I don't do this, he might abandon me. So let's talk what happens within the masculine energy. We have to remember that whether you are male or female, you have feminine energy on your left, masculine energy on your right. Feminine is receptive, masculine is giving. So in this case, if you are giving financial support to your twin flame in any way, shape, or form, you are in your masculine energy because you are giving. And in order for them to receive that, they need to be in their feminine energy. And if you give fully from a place of alignment, what will happen is it will be reciprocated and appreciated. So I want to give you an example. This is a simple example, but this is what I mean by coming from alignment. Oftentimes, early on in my journey, I was messaging my twin flame from like an unhealed place. I would message him because I wanted to force connection. I was afraid if I didn't talk to him, he would forget me. And whenever I sent messages from that place, guess what? He would either take days to read that message, or he would read that message and never respond. Because the energy, the intention of why I was reaching out was coming from an unhealed place. And whenever I reached out from alignment and I was speaking from my heart, wanted nothing in return from him, guess what? Every single time he appreciated the message and he reciprocated something in return. That's how you know you're coming from alignment. You're coming from this place of giving because you simply want to give. But when you come from that unhealed place, your twin flame may unconsciously take without any accountability. So if you paid for something for them and in hopes that they would return the money to you, they will take and not hold themselves accountable in repaying you back that money. It will make them feel disempowered because in their mind, they're the man, they're the masculine, they're the ones that should be providing. And by giving to them, you're actually disempowering them as well because they're not doing the steps necessary in order to create the shifts in their reality. And oftentimes too, when this happens, a masculine can actually associate this as a feminine pressuring him or doing this because she's doing it out of obligation. So then he feels he has to do something in return when he may not be able to. So it creates this imbalance between the feminine and the masculine. And oftentimes what the feminine wants is connection, wants him to choose her. But instead, what he ends up doing is he starts withdrawing from the connection. Because healthy masculine energy responds to respect. They don't respond to being rescued because in his mind, the healthy masculine doesn't need to be rescued because he's the one that is creating support. He's the one that's creating structure. He's the one that's providing. And when the feminine is looking at it from he needs to be rescued or he's feeling he needs to be rescued, that polarity that happens between the feminine and masculine actually ends up collapsing. And what I mean by that polarity that's needed for that attraction piece energetically, it actually disappears. So what happens when you give money, you give resources to your twin flame and it never comes back? What that means is the feminine gives and the masculine doesn't return. He doesn't reciprocate the favor. He doesn't reciprocate in paying her back. He doesn't even fully return to the connection for a while. So it creates this silence. He runs, he avoids, and he disappears, right? So the impact that this has on the feminine is she experiences deep, deep heartbreak, deep, deep heartbreak. And if you are really honest with yourself, that heartbreak that you created, you did to yourself. I had to come to that reality when I started realizing how much I was overgiving and giving from this unhealed place. And I started realizing that I was creating my own pain and suffering, that I was the one that was responsible for it because I gave under conditions. I created transactional love when transactional love isn't meant to be between two individuals. It created resentment. It creates self-doubt. And it creates this spiritual confusion of, but I did it from love. When the reality is, yeah, you might think that you might be doing it under love, but there's a trauma response that's hidden underneath that. But one of the most beautiful things that happens to the feminine when she realizes this is like a wake up moment for her. This is like an aha moment in her reality of like, excuse my language, but holy shit, I cannot believe I did that. And this cracks her open even more for her to see things that are within her that she hadn't seen otherwise. So let's talk about the lesson behind this, and let's start diving into talking about boundaries and energetic integrity, because this is what the feminine needs to do in order to create shifts within her and within her connection. Because oftentimes the feminine, when she loves, she doesn't have any boundaries in the beginning. She's boundaryless. And so without boundaries, she ends up abandoning herself over and over and over, hoping that the masculine will love her. And if she's really honest with herself, she'll realize that she's been doing this her whole entire life. Her whole entire life. And she gives oftentimes without energetic clarity. And this actually creates depletion within her energetically. And you have to remember that union is created and is required through polarity, not through collapsing. And so if you're constantly giving, aka masculine energy, you will not create that polarity and that dynamic between your twin flame to create union. And so just to kind of recap regarding the different levels of feminine energy is, first we have the wounded feminine. And if you're needing more on this, check out one of my other videos. Is she's overgiving and she's giving to prove her worth. She's giving to perform love. The distorted feminine, she gives through control. I remember there was a time in my life where I did give out of control because I thought, if I give to him, underneath this control, he's going to see me in this light that I want him to see me in. But guess what, ladies? It didn't happen. It backfired because you can't manipulate energy. You can't manipulate the energetic contract that's underneath why it is that you're giving. And whether your masculine is conscious of it or not, he will always know. Because the sacred feminine, she receives, she discerns, she holds boundaries with love, not out of fear, not out of controlling someone or manipulating. She holds them out of love. And that's the biggest difference between the distorted and the wounded feminine. So let's talk about what love actually looks like when in alignment. And the reason why I want to talk about this in relationship to the money part of it is because your relationship with money and your relationship with love are deeply intertwined. And what I mean by that is if you are somebody that's an anxious attachment style in love, meaning you're chasing after it, you never have enough of it, you feel like you gotta prove for it, you feel like you gotta work hard for it, and you're always grasping after that. Chances are with money, you are running after it, you are chasing after it, you're grasping onto it, you never have enough of it, you feel like you have to work so hard for it. It's no coincidence that these two are intertwined to one another. And when you start realizing this, you can start unraveling it. And my journey with money has been many, many years in the making. It was probably one of the biggest things that I've had to learn in this lifetime and within my connection. And it's something that has taken the longest because of all the unraveling that I had to do. And I'm in December of this year of 2026 will be 10 years after that I've met my twin flame. But I wasn't activated till like a year and a half after meeting him because I didn't even know we were twin flames until a year and a half later. And it was about that time where I started working on my relationship with money. And a couple of years after that, I read this book by Kyle Cease. Oh, I wish I could remember what it is. If I can find it, I'll drop it in the description box because it really helped me start shifting some things in regards to money. And I'm going to try to explain this to you in a way that makes sense. I wish I had the book with me so I could read it word for word. But basically, he said, say you and money were on a date, but you were actually money and on a date with who you are right now. And if you were sitting at this table as money on a date with you, would you date yourself? And at that time, I thought to myself, hell no, would I date myself? I would never date myself because of all the things that I would say about money. I would be like, money, you're never there for me. Money, you come and you go. Money, I have to work so hard for you. Money, I gotta struggle. I mean, the list was so long. And I thought to myself, no wonder why money didn't want to be with me. I wouldn't want to be with me either. And I started changing my relationship with money. And I started realizing that money was something that could help me create what it is that I want in this life. Like it's a tool, right? But in order for me to have that relationship with money, I had to feel secure in myself. And I had to see money for exactly what it was and to stop having money be about transaction. Like I had to learn not to have to prove myself to money. I had to learn not to chase after it. I had to learn to change my worthiness around it. And as I was doing that, I was also realizing too that, holy crap, I did the same thing in my twin flame journey. How can I start unraveling that? How can I stop trying to prove my worth to my twin flame? How could I start seeing that I'm worthy of this dynamic? I'm worthy of an amazing love. Where can I stop chasing after him and start honoring myself and start realizing that by chasing whatever it is I want in my life, I'm actually pushing it away because love, when it's mutual, when it's coming from a healthy place, it's supportive. It's not one directional. It's not unrequited love. And many of you are experiencing unrequited love, meaning you're loving your twin flame. Your twin flame is your life. You know, your twin flame is this and your twin flame is that, but he's not doing the same thing. It's love that is mutual and healthy gives from this place of inspiration. It inspires one another. It inspires one another to continue to rise and to continue to cultivate the life that you desire. It's not based in fear. In fear-based love is the heart racing and pounding. It's the butterflies in the stomach. That's fear-based love. That's a love that most of us have known our whole entire life. When love comes from a place of alignment, it is not self-abandoning. It does not cost you to abandon yourself or to do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. And money does not secure love. Because both money and love come from a place of overflow, where you always have more than enough. You always have enough to give, and you give from this place of simply wanting to give with nothing, not without asking anything in return. Because if something is costing you your peace, your stability, your self-respect, then it's not giving from this place of sacredness. It's not giving from this place of alignment. And by introducing this and by sharing this with you and opening you up to this, I want you to know that this isn't a time for you to judge. And it's not about me judging you for what you've done. And by no means should you judge yourself. It's about bringing awareness to the things that you do. And it's about recognizing where love for you turned into a survival strategy, where love turned into being transactional. And if you are ready to start unraveling that, ready to dive into new ways of navigating your twin flame journey, then I encourage you to join Rise. It's my membership for the feminines from the twin flame journey. It's a community-based membership where every month we deep dive into a specific topic regarding the twin flame journey. In there, there's tools and resources, no matter where you are in your journey, to help you come back to you and to allow the feminine within you to rise, and helping you cultivate that inner union within you. Because union doesn't come from overgiving. Union comes from a place of alignment. Union comes from this place of balance. And that begins within you first. And so if you got something from this video, then I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. And if you're wanting to join Rise, or if you're needing support in your journey and wanting some one-on-one attention to help you navigate through these challenges that you are facing, then click on the link in my description box. I would be honored to hold that space for you in helping you highlight and see some of these patterns so you can begin changing your journey and your life. And as always, I'm so honored to be on this path with you, so honored to share my wisdom that in regards to what it is that I've learned, because everything that I share, most of it I have experienced myself. But when it's coming into my reality more and more through my clients and my friends, then I know it's time to talk about some of these things. And so, my friends, I'm sending you all so much love and light, and I cannot wait to connect with you in the next video.